Greetings and welcome to this week's episode of UC Weekly News. I'm your host, David Danto, and I'm joined by Crestron's Joel Mulpeter today. Joel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, David. Thank you for taking the time to chat to me.
For people who might not know you, tell everybody who you are and what you do in the industry.
Sure. I'm senior product marketing manager for Crestron, so I look after all of our commercial lines. Anytime we're doing trade shows or launching products, that's me and especially my team that bring that forward and try to bring all the great innovations we make to the market and hoping that our industry keeps going forward with greater and better products.
So, as everybody's watching this, we're probably on our way to Orlando this year for InfoComm 2025. But before we get into that, and that's really what I want to talk about here, I know you just got back from Spain, was it, for Crestron Masters? Can you tell everybody kind of how that went?
Yeah, we did. That was, feels like it was a couple of days ago, but it was 3 weeks ago now. We just had our Masters event in Madrid, in Spain. It was a tremendous event, bringing a whole bunch of, industry experts together, especially, our programming and technical community that come to learn so much at those events. We had our biggest Masters we've ever had in Europe, which was great. We alternate years, Europe and the US, and this was the biggest one we've ever had in Europe. But we also had a really important learning track at this one called the Modern Work learning track as well. So we had a whole bunch of folks who are, from system designers to, just technical folk that want to know how our products work, less on the programming side, also come and get a great amount out of that event. So bringing all those people together, seeing them network, talking amongst the sessions, learn, interact with our staff, interact with one another. It was really an awesome event. We're still reeling off the high of Masters.
And that's a location and an event where Crestron just kind of introduced a new theme, right? You want to kind of tell us about what that's all about?
Yeah, so we talked about for the first time publicly and been a long time internally, our True Blue mantra. And True Blue, historically has been our tech support network, but we're taking True Blue and really making it about every interaction you have with Crestron. So whether that's placing orders with Crestron, whether that's calling for support, whether that's just having a conversation with someone at Crestron from a system design perspective or your sales rep, True Blue is really about everything we do and everything we do with our customers. So what we want to do is use a True Blue mantra about like, let's be True Blue together, and let's take what the products we make and the amazing skills that our channel partners in our industry has, and let's push that forward and push that into our customers and make sure that together we're delivering the most amazing systems we possibly can as an industry.
Now, when I think back to InfoComm and Crestron, I think back to my many conversations with the late George Felstein, a brilliant man. We would talk about, some of the first, I don't know how much history you know of it, but we would talk about some of the first handheld remotes where he was making custom buttons and push buttons on some of the remotes. And we talked about, CATV and home distribution. And it was really that concept of control around everything you do at your enterprise, at your home, throughout your life. It was really doing all that. Crestron traditionally has had one of the largest booths at Crestron. I mean at InfoComm, and it's been really interesting. So what can we expect in looking at Crestron when we stop by that at the InfoComm show this year?
So we still have a large booth, the little city that we build for the days the show is on, just like we do for other shows as well, ISE and CEDIA. But the booth this year is really focused around another mantra we kind of started at ISE actually called content, collaboration, and control. So you can think of the Crestron story this year for InfoComm. Content, collaboration, control establishes the products we make and the reasons why we make them. True Blue is the interactions with the company. And those are kind of our two core themes. When we talk about content, collaboration, and control, it's really a way for us to help group all the stuff we make, right? We make lots of products that achieve lots of things in lots of different types of spaces that our customers use in all those great ways. But to help summarize them or simplify them, content is all about sharing information. So we have so many great ways or technologies to do that, AV over IP, our wireless technologies and wired with our media, right through to our HDBaseT, DM Essentials based products. When we shift into collaboration, it's all about people. So collaborating in person, collaborating hybrid, collaborating remote, all those are important ways we do collaboration today. Is this return to office, return to school, return to work, whatever you want to call it, is on full flight. Hybrid's never going to go away, right? But we are going to see, people start to enter the office and collaborate more. And we supplement that collaboration with products like Crestron Flex, leveraging Teams and Zoom. Also our intelligent video, multi-camera technologies, our intelligent audio, and our scheduling solutions. So all of those help people to collaborate and meet and work together. And then we have control. Control is obviously the pedigree of Crestron. As you mentioned, it's where we started as a company all those years ago, controlling slide projectors and all those things, custom remotes for those. But today, control is really for us all about simplifying all this great technology. That at the end of the day, most people that use these spaces are not technology experts. They're professors, they're people that are working in a bank, they're people that are working in an enterprise, and they just want the rooms to work. And we use control to make sure that functions that should be automated just work, right? They don't have to do anything. But then when they do need control, they get delivered those stunning touch panels, user interfaces, so they can interact and control the space the way they need to do. And it's delivered in the way that matches their workflow of the space. So a
Yeah,
professor wants to teach, and they should be delivered the UI that helps them to do that. They don't need anything else. That's what they're looking for.
it's interesting how, and this is not a comment based on Crestron. Crestron's very involved. It's interesting how our industry has evolved. We used to, at InfoComm, have a display of Crestron control panels and who had the best programming and the slickest and the coolest and the neatest. Because that time in our industry, probably about 15, 20 years ago and longer, we were essentially designing rooms for us. We were
Mm.
designing rooms for the technicians. If there was ever a spaceship that landed out of nowhere and had a foreign thing to plug in, we wanted to make sure we had a button for that. We wanted to make it have everything. And we've sort of morphed as an industry to say, you know what? We don't need to build rooms for us, the tech heads, the geeks that know everything. We
Mhm.
need to build these rooms and systems for people that don't want to have to be experts in AV. We wanted the technology to just work. So we've now kind of backed away from the slick and cool and high touch and wacky and a button for everything situations and made these UIs, first of all, unnecessary in many cases, especially with your camera tracking capabilities and your zone programming capabilities, but also very simple and easy to use. And that simplicity is one of the interesting things that Crestron's been able to move over to. It didn't have to be one thing. It's now kind of just being the smarts in the system so people can just be the experts in what they are.
Exactly, yeah, and that's why we've really retained that methodology of there are functions in a room that should just work, right? You shouldn't have to do anything. What we want people to do is just be humans in the room. So you enter a room and a sensor detects you, the light should turn on. Now, you might want to have a switch on the wall or a touch panel that people feel comfortable with turning the lights on and off, but there should be some level of automation. Once that automation can't make all the decisions for you, then you want to deliver a user interface. But that user interface doesn't need every button of every piece of technology in the room. It needs the ones that are important to you. And depending on how many pieces of technology, how complex that room is, that can differ and change. And that's why we've always had a custom approach to our user interfaces as well. Our channel partners program those, they decide which buttons go on there. That's a conversation with the end customer of how they want to use the space to define that user experience. And that user experience, there's hopefully a consistency across the types of spaces they have as well, but it is, consistent to what that end user wants in their spaces, and hopefully the look and feel that they want as well.
Now, if our viewers have been living under a rock for the last 15 or 20 years, they're still thinking of Crestron as just a control company, you guys are doing a heck of a lot more than that. You mentioned Air Media, you have a lot of interface devices, you have a lot of collaboration and camera devices. You introduced a few new ones at ISE that you're going to be showing this year. You want to give us a couple of the highlights?
Yeah, sure. So on the most recent update we've had on our multi-camera solution, Automate BX, which is again taking multiple cameras around a room, making sure we can always capture the best view of the space from the best angle, is what we call visual AI direction. So intelligent video for us is a stack of technologies we put into products. It starts with things like group framing, speaker tracking, presenter tracking. We call those foundational technologies, right? They're the things that today people expect from cameras, right? We don't have to go and tote those features. They are just things that we expect cameras to do. We then supplement those with three core technologies from Crestron. First one being intelligent switching, so that's multiple cameras in a space for the best angle. Visual AI that
All right,
applies.
slow down, slow down.
Yep.
Don't gloss over intelligent switching because I don't know that people have heard about AI cameras and AI directors now for 3 years, and everybody hears it and turns their head off. What you've got is a system that very few people have, which is if a camera's taking a shot of me and then I turn my head this way, and there happens to be another camera that has a better shot, it'll switch to the other camera. It's not just going to switch when somebody else talks. It's always going to give you the best shot in the room, which I think is unique to you guys, right?
Yeah, and that's taking the intelligent switching and the visual AI components and bringing them together. So intelligent switching just being the individual switching between cameras. Visual AI puts a real intelligence layer over that, where now we can detect where someone's facing in a room, so that not only are we picking a camera based on the audio cue as to where they're speaking, which we do with beamforming microphones, right, to understand the XY position in the room and where they are, We then can also know that, hey, someone's speaking in this position, but their head is facing in this direction, and therefore the camera at the front of the room is a better shot than the camera at the back of the room. And the best example we use is you talking one day to the CEO facing this way, and then you talk to the far end of the video conference call, you all of a sudden get a shot of the back of someone's head or a front-on shot where you're catching profiles too aggressively. We can very easily take completely different camera shots purely based on where your head is facing. We do that through AI. It's a pre-trained model inside of the system that is essentially detecting where your eyes and your nose are facing. There's a whole bunch of calculations that happen and angles we drive there. But as soon as you turn off a certain point of the angle of incidence, we make that switch. And then as you turn back, we make that switch again. There's a little bit of padding and timing in there to make that a nice seamless experience so it's not erratic. But it's all dynamic. It just happens without you really having to do anything.
Okay, great. Because I didn't want you to gloss over that because most people don't realize the quality of how that works. But then go ahead. I'm sorry. Sorry I cut you off. Continue.
No, that's all right. Yeah. So intelligent switching and visual AI, the other two, or two of those other three components, visual AI, that direction, but also auto framing is really important in that. We use visual AI to detect where someone's head is, make sure they're always centered in the frame. It is natural human behavior to move in a room, right? You lean left to right. I have the intelligent director turned off here on my little webcam here, but putting that in a large conference room is quite complex, right? Very different to the camera I have here on my computer, but we have that also on our larger system so that as people lean left to right, the cameras will always track exactly where they are and keep them centered in the frame for that most natural experience for the far end, especially. And then finally, composition. Composition for us is also super important. That's taking multiple feeds of cameras from the room and compositing them on the canvas. So the most simplest way to think about that is like conversation mode, where two people are conversating. You want to put them side by side, not be switching from one to the other constantly. It's a bit of tennis match ping pong. But we can do that with a large number of cameras. We can do that with 8, 9 cameras if you really want to. But most people do things like 2 ups, 3 ups. You might want picture in picture. You might want people in a presenter zone and someone else in the room. And all of that's dynamic. Those compositions can be completely defined by the user as to how they want those to look and feel. The behavior as to when they come up can be completely defined as well. And in fact, all of the features of our multi-camera switching, we have this concept called scenarios. You can turn those on and off. You can choose what use case the room has today and make sure that that system is delivering exactly what you need for your meeting.
So if somebody's wandering over to the Crestron booth for the first time, what do you suggest they start? What's the experience going to be like? And what should they make sure they don't miss?
Yep, so smack bang in the center of our booth, obviously come to reception and speak to the lovely folk there that will make sure you have a sales rep if you know one or if you need one, we'll find someone that can talk to you. Otherwise, right in the center of the booth, we call it the center of the U, but it's kind of this U shape in the center of the booth. We actually have a demonstration we call the Crestron experience, and that takes content collaboration control in the form of a learning environment. So in this case, a flipped learning environment, doing group learning, active learning, and it brings all those elements of AV over IP, air media, multi-camera, conferencing, and control all into one space and one demonstration. So there's some lovely folk there that are running a demonstration in there. They can talk to the customers and break it down further if required. But that's a really great way in 5, 6 minutes, 7 minutes to get an overview of what Crestron's about, especially in high impact spaces. Outside of that, we have a couple of other demonstration areas on the booth or experience spaces, such as Intelligent Video Lab, where you can see all those intelligent video features firsthand. And then we have a heap of product demonstrations as well that are showing all the individual components, bits and bobs and boxes that make all that magic come to life as well. And there's people stationed on all those walls. So you can come in, you can wander, talk to anyone. We'll be in blue shirts with blue polos that say Crestron. So anyone you can speak to will be more than happy to take you through the Crestron portfolio.
Well, so instead of look for the union label, look for the true blue shirts that people are going to be wearing.
Exactly.
That's how you'll know. All right. Any hints, any announcements, anything coming out at the show that you want to let us know? Anything coming out at the end of the year or early next year? Or just, don't say anything you can't say, but from a directional standpoint, anything you want to kind of lead people toward?
Yeah, we have a few new products at this show and a few things we showed at ISE that we are showing for the first time at InfoComm as well. There are different audiences that come to those two shows, so you can come and see a summary of all of those working together. Some of those have started shipping in the last 30 days or 45 days or so. There's some things that are shipping a little bit further in the future that you can come and get a preview of at the show. And we're very excited for some launches we have coming out in 2026. Can't say too much about them, but very early next year to the end of this year, we'll have some really exciting announcements to bring forward as well. So come by the booth, see what we're about with content collaboration and control, and you'll see that in a bunch of products as well.
And you
Tools.
did make an announcement at ISE about joining on to Microsoft's MDEP, so we're all kind of waiting with bated breath to see what that's going to look like. I assume that's going to be one of your next year announcements.
Yes, it will be. Yeah, and that's progressing very well. We are working very closely with Microsoft on that, on bringing that platform or that operating system into our ecosystem, and yeah, progressing very well. It's moving very quickly, which is always positive.
Awesome. So if you're not going to InfoComm, or if you went to InfoComm and you're watching this late and you want to recap some of the things, I know you guys have a website, right? I'm going to put it up on the screen over here. How can people go find out more about what you guys did at InfoComm?
Yeah, you can jump onto crestron.com/infocom. And before the show, you'll see all the great events we're at. And we have a whole heap of events. We have a 2030 vision session on the spotlight stage that Brad Hinsey, our EVP of marketing, is going to be taking. And we have other sessions on that spotlight stage that myself and one of my friends, John Hewland, at the show is going to be talking on as well. So come and see any of those events. We have training that's happening at the show, manufacturers training you can sign up to. So you can find all those links on that website, crestron.com/infocom, if you are going to the show, along with our booth number and other details. If you're not at the show, jump onto that, and that will be our post-show website as well. So anything that is possible to be recorded and posted on there, or lives on after the show, will be present on there as well. So yeah, jump on that website and check it out. Other than that, check out our social, check out our emails. We'll be talking a lot about InfoComm.
So, Joel, before we go, I guess we do kind of have to highlight that this is going to be the last InfoComm for one of your key people, Roseanne Lang, who's been running your trade show booths for over 30 years at this point, I think.
Yeah, she's 35-year veteran of Crestron is leaving it. She's moving on to happy retirement. So yeah, obviously, it's a bit bittersweet. Congratulations to Roseanne. She's brought so much to the company, so much to the industry, so much to these shows like InfoComm. But congratulations at the same time for be moving on to retirement and all the happiness that comes with that. So we're going to miss her greatly. She's going to be at the show, so if you know her or you've interacted with her before, come and say hello, come and say goodbye. And in terms of the industry as well, she's still around, of course. You can reach out to her. All those
That's
great
that's
places on LinkedIn and all that stuff. But
That's another reason to stop by the Crestron booth to give your regards and a happy retirement over to Roseanne. And it's actually for you guys in marketing, as we're talking about it now, I'm realizing it's a missed opportunity. You shouldn't just be wearing blue polos. Everybody should be wearing the "I'm not Roseanne" shirts that your team wears during the setup. So that would actually be a cool tribute. But I won't take the breath away from that. So if anybody wants to find out generally more about Crestron or wants to reach out to you, Joel, how should they do it?
yeah, jump onto our website, crestron.com, sign up to any of our email blasts we have. We'll be contacting pretty regularly through that. Otherwise, Crestron's always open to personal contact. You can search me on LinkedIn. You can find my email, Joel Mulpeter at crestron.com, and reach out, or anyone you know at Crestron. More than happy to connect, link you up to the correct people as well in the company. So please reach out.
Joel, thanks very much for giving us the information about Masters and the preview of InfoComm. And this is going to be a very busy week for all of us. And thank you very much for watching as you do every week. Our show next week is obviously going to be a wrap up from Orlando. We'll have a lot of information, a lot of the pick hits that are coming up from InfoComm that we're going to cover. And until then, thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next week.